The rain was relentless that October morning in Springfield, Massachusetts. In a small one-bedroom apartment, 62-year-old Clara Thompson sat listening to the steady drip, drip, drip of water leaking from her bathroom ceiling. She'd placed a dented aluminum pot beneath it, and each ping felt like a jab at her pride. Clara wasn't just any retiree. She'd spent 35 years teaching high school English, shaping young minds, and raising her 2 kids, Lila and Marcus, all on her own. After her husband David passed away from a heart attack at 42, Clara had done everything by the book. She put Lila and Marcus through college debt-free, even when it meant skipping meals or wearing the same coat for a decade. She'd sacrificed everything for them, but now, staring at the spreading water stains on her ceiling, she wondered if it had all been for nothing. Her teacher's pension barely covered the rent, and after a knee surgery 2 years back, her savings were down to crumbs. Pause. Slow zoom on ceiling leak that morning. Clara called her landlord, Mr. Bennett, for the 6th time that month. "Mr. Bennett, I hate to bother you," she said, her voice steady but tight, "but the leak's gotten worse. There's a new one in the kitchen now." His reply was kind but firm. "Clara, I've got 2 other buildings with busted pipes from the freeze. The plumber's swamped. Maybe next week." She hung up, her eyes tracing the ugly brown stains creeping across her ceiling. This apartment was all she could afford, a far cry from the life she'd imagined after decades of hard work. Then her phone buzzed. A notification from Instagram. Clara knew she shouldn't look. Social media always left her feeling hollow, but she couldn't help it. There was Lila, her 34-year-old daughter, beaming in front of a stunning colonial house with a sold sign in the yard. Her arm was around an older woman with sleek grey hair. Lila's mother-in-law, Diane. The caption read, "Thrilled to help Mum D settle into her dream home. She's earned every luxury after all she's done for us." Asterisk. Clara read it again, her chest tightening. Mom D, not her, the woman who'd raised Lila single-handedly, but Diane, who'd never approved of Lila until she married Nathan, a corporate lawyer with the right credentials. Clara, the public school teacher, who'd worn thrift store dresses so her kids could have new sneakers, was nowhere in the picture. She scrolled through the comments, each one a tiny cut. "You're such an amazing daughter-in-law. Diane's so lucky to have you. That house is stunning." Clara's hand shook as she set the phone down. Flashback, soft music, warm lighting 3 months earlier, when the city inspector flagged her apartment building for major repairs. Clara had asked Lila if she could crash with them for a bit. Their house had 4 bedrooms for just the 2 of them, plenty of space, especially since they hadn't had luck starting a family. "Mom, it's not a great time," Lila had said, avoiding her gaze. "Nathan's up for a big promotion, and we're hosting a lot of important people. You get it, right?" Clara got it. She was a liability, the mum with the faded cardigans and small-town accent who might embarrass them at a cocktail party. The irony stung. She'd raised Lila to value kindness over status. But now her own daughter was ashamed of her, buying a mansion for Diane, while Clara's ceiling leaked. Asterisk. The phone rang, snapping Clara out of her thoughts. An unfamiliar number. "Hello," she said, bracing for a spam call. "Is this Clara Thompson?" The voice was male, polished, with a faint Boston twang. "Yes. Who's this?" "I'm James Larson, an attorney with Larson, Hayes, and Stone in Boston. I'm calling about your brother, Michael Thompson." Clara's heart skipped. Michael, her older brother. They hadn't spoken in 18 years, not since their falling out during her divorce. Michael had believed David's lies about her, siding with him and leaving Clara feeling betrayed by her own blood. "What about him?" she asked, her voice guarded. A pause. "I'm sorry to tell you, Michael passed away last month. Lung cancer." It was quick. Clara sank onto her threadbare couch, emotions swirling. She and Michael had been close once, before the rift. Now he was gone, and she didn't know how to process it. Double quotes. "Ms. Thompson," the attorney prompted. "I'm here," she said softly. "There's more," he continued. "Michael named you the sole beneficiary in his will." Clara let out a sharp, incredulous laugh. "That's impossible. We hadn't talked in years. Nevertheless, it's true. He updated his will 9 months ago, after his diagnosis. You inherit his townhouse in Back Bay, his investment portfolio, and his rare book collection. The estate's valued at approximately $11 million. The room spun. $11 million, she whispered. Before taxes. Yes. Michael was very successful in real estate. He also left you a letter. Can we meet next Monday to go over everything?" Clara agreed, her voice robotic. After hanging up, she sat frozen, the drip of the leak filling the silence. Michael, the brother she'd written off, had made her a multimillionaire. She glanced at her phone. Leela's Instagram post still open. The perfect house for perfect Diane, not her. Transition, slow music, close-up of Clara's face. Clara opened her texts and found her last message to Marcus, her son. "Hey honey, just checking if you got the anniversary card I sent." It was marked read, but no reply. Marcus only reached out when he needed something like 6 months ago, when he asked for $1,500 for a startup idea. Clara didn't have it, but she'd taken out a loan she was still paying off. He'd promised to repay her. He hadn't. She walked to the bathroom and stared into the chipped mirror. Her grey hair was uncolored, her face lined from years of stress, but something in her eyes was shifting hurt, giving way to resolve. Michael's money wasn't just a lifeline, it was a chance to change everything. Clara snapped a photo of the leaking ceiling and texted it to Lila. "No need to worry about me. All good here." Lila read it, but didn't respond. That was the moment Clara knew what she had to do. That night, as the rain poured and the leaks worsened, she sat at her wobbly kitchen table and started a list not of bills, but of betrayals. Every slight, every ignored call, every time she'd been invisible. By dawn, she had a plan. Michael's gift wasn't just financial freedom, it was the power to set things right. The Back Bay townhouse was like something out of a movie. 5 stories of elegant brownstone, tucked among Boston's wealthiest. Clara Thompson stood on the steps, key in hand, feeling like she was stepping into someone else's life. Her brother, Michael's life, not hers. She wondered if he'd been happy here in his final days. But that question faded as she turned the lock. It didn't matter anymore. James Larson, the attorney, had been all business. The paperwork was straightforward. But Michael's letter, that hit different. Clara unfolded it in the quiet of the townhouse's study, her hands steady but her heart racing. "Clara, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Cancer cuts through the noise like nothing else. I was wrong about David. I learned the truth years ago, but pride kept me silent. You deserved better from me, your big brother, from everyone. I've seen how your kids grew up and turned their backs on you, how they took and took, giving nothing back. I know because I did the same to you once. This money won't fix what I broke, but maybe it'll give you what I never had, the freedom to live without groveling for love from people who owe it to you. Use it well, little sister." Michael. Clara tucked the letter into her pocket. Michael had seen it all, the curated social media posts, the holiday cards that never mentioned her, the way Leela and Marcus had erased her from their lives. He'd seen what she'd been too heartbroken to admit. The townhouse was stunning. Gleaming hardwood floors, intricate crown molding, a spiral staircase that seemed to climb forever. Michael's taste was refined leather armchairs, mahogany desks, Persian rugs that whispered wealth. Clara wandered from room to room, trailing her fingers over surfaces, trying to piece together the brother she'd lost. In his study, she found a shelf of photo albums and clippings, her teaching awards, a newspaper article about the literacy program she'd started, a copy of the short story collection she'd self-published a decade ago. Michael had been watching her life, even when she thought he'd forgotten her. That first night, Clara slept in the guest room. Michael's bedroom felt too personal, like crossing a line she wasn't ready for. The next morning, she met with Michael's financial advisor, a sharp woman in her 30s named Erica. "Your brother was a savvy investor," Erica explained, her eyes scanning a tablet. "Real estate, tech stocks, some bold moves that paid off. After taxes, you're looking at about $8.5 million. Clara blinked. $8.5 million. The number felt like a fever dream. "What do you want to do with it?" Erica asked. "I need time," Clara said. "For now, keep it where it is." Over the next week, Clara started building her new life. She hired a cleaning crew to keep the townhouse spotless. She bought clothes not flashy, but tailored and timeless, the kind that made her feel like she belonged in this world. At a high-end salon, she dyed her grey hair back to its rich chestnut and got a sleek bob that took a decade off her face. For the first time in years, she recognized the woman in the mirror. Lila and Marcus didn't call. They didn't notice. She'd left her crumbling apartment behind. Only Mr. Bennett, her old landlord, had her new number. Clara had become a ghost, and her kids didn't even blink. Pause. Tense music on day 12. Clara called Lila Mom. Lila answered, startled. Is something wrong? Not, how are you? Not, I've missed you. Just the assumption that Clara only called with problems. Everything's fine, Clara said, her voice calm. I've had some changes. I'm in Boston now. Boston, why? I came into some money. My brother Michael passed away and left me his estate. Silence. Clara could practically hear Lila's mind worry, calculating. Uncle Michael, Lila said. I thought you didn't talk. We didn't. People can surprise you, even after they're gone. Clara paused, letting the moment stretch. I've moved into his townhouse in Back Bay. It's beautiful. I'm having the old apartment cleared out. I live here now. Lila's tone shifted, all honey and warmth. Back Bay. That's fancy. Wow. Mom, that's amazing. You deserve this. Clara smirked. Fancy, expensive. Suddenly, she was worth noticing. It is, Clara said simply. I just wanted you to know. That's so great, Lila gushed. Nathan and I should visit. It's been way too long. Had Lila ever invited Clara to their house, the one she'd bought for Diane? No, that'd be nice. Clara lied. I'm still settling in. Maybe in a few weeks, of course. Lila said, too eager. Just say when we're totally free. Sure they were. Clara dangled one last hook. I've got to run. Meeting with the financial advisor. Financial advisor, Lila pounced. How much did Uncle Michael leave you? Enough, Clara said. Talk. Soon say hi to Nathan. She hung up before Lila could dig further. Asterisk, Marcus called 45 minutes later. Lila had clearly tipped him off. Hey Mom, he said. All charm. Like they chatted daily instead of him ghosting her for months. Lila told me about Uncle Michael. That's huge. Is it? Clara asked, her tone light. You barely knew him. Well, yeah, but it's awesome for you. You've had it tough. Tough. Like her decades of sacrifice were just a bad week. Marcus lived in a sleek Denver loft, posting ski trips on social media, never once offering to fly her out. Things are looking up, Clara said. How's your startup? A slight hesitation. Killing it. Actually, we're looking to scale, but we need investors. I was thinking. Sounds exciting. Clara cut in. We should talk about it when you visit. You are coming to see your mum in her new place, right? Totally. Marcus said, too fast. I can fly out next weekend if that works. So eager now, Clara thought. Next weekend's perfect. I'll text you the address. Asterisk. After hanging up, Clara sat in Michael's study, her study, now gazing out at the Boston skyline. Her kids were moving exactly as she'd predicted, like pawns on a chessboard. That afternoon, she met with a lawyer she'd chosen herself, not from Michael's firm. Patricia Wells was a no-nonsense woman in her late 40s, recommended by Erica for her airtight estate planning. I want a new will, Clara said, laying out her situation. And I want to set up trusts, very specific trusts. Patricia scribbled notes. What's the goal? Clara's lips curved into a thin smile, teaching a lesson that's been a long time coming. Patricia didn't flinch. I've heard worse. Let's make it legal. They spent 2 hours hammering out the details. By the time Clara left, the plan was locked in. The trap was set. All she needed were the players. Transition, autumn visuals, cobblestone streets. Back Bay in autumn was straight out of a postcard. Golden trees, cobblestone sidewalks, gas lamps, flickering at dusk. Clara stood at her townhouse window, watching a taxi pull up. Marcus stepped out, paid the driver with a flourish, always flashy with other people's money. She'd made a point not to pick him up from the airport. He paused, taking in the townhouses, grandeur, clearly impressed, before ringing the bell. Clara took her time answering. Marcus, she said, accepting his hug. When had he last hugged her like that? Not at her birthday 2 years ago, which he'd forgotten until a week later, not at Thanksgiving, when he'd shown up late and left early. Good to see you, Mom, he said, stepping inside. His eyes widened at the foyer's marble floors and chandelier. This place is unreal. Uncle Michael had style. He did, Clara agreed. Come on, I'll give you the tour. She led him through the house, watching him catalogue every valuable first edition books in the study, antique vases in the dining room. These were your great-grandmother's, she said, gesturing to a set of porcelain figurines, brought over from Ireland. Must be worth a fortune, Marcus said, his eyes gleaming. Some things are worth more than money, Clara replied. Family history, stories. Yeah, sure, he said, already eyeing a modern sculpture on the mantel. Lila and Nathan arrived an hour later, carrying a bottle of overpriced Chardonnay and a bouquet of roses. The morning sun cut through the Boston skyline, glinting off the glass tower where Patricia Wells' law office sat. Clara Thompson stepped out of a cab, dressed in a sharp charcoal blazer and skirt, her chestnut hair catching the light. She'd chosen the outfit carefully armor for the battle ahead. Today wasn't just about paperwork, it was about rewriting the rules of her family. Inside. The conference room was all sleek, modernity polished wood, floor-to-ceiling windows, and a view of the Charles River sparkling below. Clara sat at the head of the table, her kids, Lila and Marcus, and Lila's husband, Nathan, fidgeting in their seats. Patricia, the lawyer, stood ready, her crisp navy suit and no-nonsense vibe setting the tone. "Thanks for coming," Patricia said, her voice calm but commanding. "Clara's asked me to walk you through the new structure for her estate." Lila leaned forward, her manicured nails tapping the table. Marcus sat back, arms crossed, but his eyes were locked on Patricia. Nathan, ever the smooth operator, flashed a polite smile. They were all waiting for the prize, Clara's $8.5 million inheritance from her brother, Michael. Patricia slid a stack of papers across the table. "As you know, Clara inherited a substantial estate from her brother, valued at approximately $8.5 million after taxes, including the Back Bay townhouse and investments. She's decided to create a series of trusts to manage these assets." Clara watched her kids' faces, eager, expectant, already spending the money in their heads. They flipped through the documents, but their expressions shifted from excitement to confusion. "I don't get it," Lila said, her brow furrowing. "This says the main beneficiary is a charity." "Correct," Patricia said, unfazed. "The Clara Thompson Foundation for Educational Opportunity will receive the bulk of the estate, truthfully, $6.5 million in assets and investments." Marcus's jaw tightened. "But what about us?" He caught himself, backtracking. "I mean, that's awesome, Mum. Education's always been your thing." "It is," Clara said, her voice steady. "The foundation will fund scholarships for kids who've had to fight for their shot at college, like I did. Students who worked multiple jobs, who didn't have anyone handing them anything." Nathan cleared his throat, flipping to another page, "and the remaining $2 million. Page 3, Patricia said, guiding them. They all turned, scanning the text. Lila read aloud, her voice faltering. $1 million to be held in trust for Clara's future care and medical needs, and $1 million to be divided equally between Marcus and Lila Thompson, to be distributed under specific conditions." She stopped, her face paling as she read the fine print. "Want me to clarify?" Patricia offered. Lila nodded, silent. "The trusts for Marcus and Lila are structured as ethical behavior trusts," Patricia explained. "Each of you will receive quarterly payments of $12,500, $50,000 a year, provided you demonstrate consistent care and support for your mother." "What's that supposed to mean?" Marcus asked, his tone sharp. Clara spoke up, her voice cutting through the room. "It means, to get your money, you have to act like you care. Weekly phone calls, monthly visits, holidays together. The things most kids do because they love their mum, you'll do for cash." The room went quiet, the weight of her words sinking in. "You're bribing us to be your kids?" Lila asked, her voice trembling. "No," Clara said, cool and composed. "I'm paying you to act like the kids I thought I raised, the ones I deserved." "This is crazy," Marcus said, shoving his chair back. "You can't put rules on family, can't I?" Clara raised an eyebrow. "You've been setting conditions on our relationship for years. You only call when you need a loan. You ignore my texts. You buy mansions for your mother-in-law, while I lived with a leaking ceiling." Lila flinched, her eyes dropping to the table. "If you don't like it," Clara continued, "walk away. The foundation will take your share." Nathan, still scanning the documents, piped up. "There's something about loan forgiveness." "Yes," Patricia nodded. "Clara has records of loans she's given you both over the years, about $42,000 with interest. She's willing to forgive those debts if you signed the trust agreements today." "Those weren't loans," Marcus snapped. "They were gifts." Clara smiled, cold and knowing. I saved every message, every email. I'll pay you back next month, Mum. Just until the deal closes. Want me to pull them up? Marcus's face reddened, and he sank back into his chair. It's simple, Clara said. Sign, and you get $50,000 a year for acting like decent people. Or don't, and pay me back with interest. Patricia pushed the contracts forward. You have 15 minutes to decide. I've got another meeting at 10:30. They signed. Of course they did. Money trumped pride, and Clara's kids were fluent in that language. Marcus's signature was a quick, angry scrawl. Lila's was slow, precise, her hand shaking. Neither looked at Clara as they locked themselves into her terms. Congratulations, Patricia said, collecting the papers. The first payments start next quarter, assuming all conditions are met. Transition. Elevator ding. Silent tension in the elevator down. No one spoke. Nathan scrolled his phone. Lila stared at the floor. Marcus shifted, restless. Clara broke the silence. I've booked a table for lunch at a great Italian spot nearby. Care to join? I'm not hungry, Lila muttered. Your choice, Clara said, her tone even. But the agreement you just signed includes this lunch. First strike would be a shame, wouldn't it? Lila's eyes widened. Clara's smile was all ice. You're going to track every move we make? Marcus asked, incredulous. Keep a scorecard. Something like that, Clara said. Like a mum waiting for a birthday call that never comes. The restaurant was cozy but upscale white tablecloths, candlelight, the clink of wine glasses. The host greeted Clara by name. She'd dined there twice to establish herself. Ms. Thompson, your table's ready, he said with a nod. They sat, and Clara ordered a bottle of Chianti Michael would have approved. Her kids picked at their food, the air thick with unspoken resentment. Nathan, ever the diplomat, tried to lighten the mood. The foundation's a great idea, Clara. Education's so important. My mum always said it's the key to everything. Diane, the sainted mother-in-law again. How's Diane doing? Clara asked, sipping her wine. Settled into her new house. Lila flushed. She's good. It's just a modest place. Nothing like your townhouse. No leaky pipes, though, I bet, Clara said lightly. No, moldy ceilings. Marcus coughed, changing the subject. Mom, about the trust rules. Let's not talk shop, Clara cut in. Tell me about your startup, Marcus. Still need that investment, he squirmed. We're good. Found funding elsewhere. I'm sure, Clara said, her smile sharp. She turned to Lila. And the boutique, still carrying those handmade scarves you were raving about last year. For the next hour, Clara asked questions, specific, pointed ones. Details she'd gleaned from their social media, from old conversations they thought she'd forgotten. She watched them squirm, realizing how much she'd noticed from the sidelines while they pretended she didn't exist. After lunch, they stepped into the crisp fall air. This was nice, Clara said. I'm hosting dinner tomorrow at the townhouse, 7 o'clock. See you there. We were gonna fly back tomorrow, Marcus said. Hesitant were you? Clara glanced at her watch. That won't meet this month's visit requirement. Better change your flights. She hailed a cab and left without looking back, her kids standing stunned on the sidewalk. The next month in Boston was like a carefully choreographed dance, but nobody was enjoying the music. Clara Thompson's kids, Lila and Marcus, followed her trust's rules to the letter. Phone calls came like clockwork. Lila on Sunday evenings, Marcus on Wednesday mornings. Hey Mom, how's your week going? Did you catch that art exhibit you mentioned? The words were polite, but the warmth was fake, like actors reading a script for cash. And that's exactly what it was. $50,000 a year, per kid, to pretend they cared. Clara played her part, too, answering with the same polished courtesy. Oh, the exhibit was lovely. Thanks for asking. Boston's getting chilly, but I'm managing. They all knew it was a transaction, not a relationship. But Clara wasn't done teaching her lesson. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, she called them both. I'd like you to come to Boston for the holiday, she said. Lila, bring Nathan. Marcus, bring Sophia. Sophia was Marcus's new girlfriend, barely mentioned but all over his Instagram. Clara had done her homework. They agreed without hesitation. $50,000 made sure of that. Clara went all out for Thanksgiving. She hired a decorator to transform the Back Bay townhouse into a holiday masterpiece: autumn wreaths, gold-rimmed china, crystal goblets sparkling under the chandelier. The meal, catered by one of Boston's top chefs, was a feast: herb-roasted turkey, chestnut stuffing, cranberry relish with a hint of ginger. Staff she'd hired for the day served it all, making the evening feel like something out of a magazine. Night before her family arrived, Clara sat in Michael's study, her study, now sipping a glass of his aged bourbon. She reviewed her notes from Patricia Wells, her lawyer. The trust was running smoothly. The Clara Thompson Foundation was already selecting its first scholarship recipients. Everything was going to plan. So why did her chest feel so heavy? She walked to the window, the Boston skyline glittering below, and wondered if victory was supposed to feel this hollow. Thanksgiving Day was crisp and bright. Clara, dressed in a deep burgundy dress that set off her chestnut hair, her makeup applied like a shield. Her family arrived together, sharing a taxi from the airport, probably to minimize their time with her. She greeted them warmly, took their coats, offered drinks, and introduced the serving staff. Sophia, Marcus's girlfriend, was a surprise. At 29, she was younger than Clara expected, but her eyes held a quiet intelligence. She took in the townhouse's understated wealth with genuine awe. "This place is stunning, Ms. Thompson," Sophia said as they settled in the living room. "Marcus told me about your brother's gift. What an incredible new chapter for you." "Thank you, Sophia," Clara said, softening slightly at her sincerity. "And call me Clara." Dinner was perfection on a plate, but the conversation was a minefield. Every topic was chosen to avoid the elephant in the room: the money tying them all together. Leela talked about her boutique's holiday sales. Marcus bragged about his startup's big investor meetings. Nathan chimed in about his law firm's latest case. Clara nodded, smiled, and kept the wine flowing. But the air was thick with what wasn't said. Then, as the staff served pumpkin cheesecake and espresso, Leela snapped. "This is ridiculous," she said, dropping her fork with a clink. "We're all sitting here, acting like everything's normal, but we know why we're really here." "Go on," Clara said, taking a slow sip of her coffee. "The trust, the rules, this whole performance," Lila said, her voice shaking. "It's cruel, Mom. Cruel." Clara set her cup down. "Let's talk about cruel, Lila. Cruel is texting your mom back 3 days late because you're busy. Cruel is forgetting her birthday until social media reminds you. Cruel is buying a house for your mother-in-law while your own mom lives with a ceiling that leaks every time it rains." Lila's face crumpled. "That's not the same, isn't it?" Clara's voice was calm but razor-sharp. "You said Diane deserved every comfort. What did I deserve? An apartment with no hot water, a winter coat I couldn't replace because I was sending you money." Marcus shifted, uncomfortable. "You never told us it was that bad, Mom." "I shouldn't have had to," Clara shot back. "I was your mother. You should have noticed. You should have cared enough to check." "So this is punishment," Marcus said, his voice low. "Making us jump through hoops for your money." "This is accountability," Clara corrected. "For the first time, you're facing the consequences of treating me like I'm invisible." Sophia, who'd been quiet, looked between them, her expression shifting. "You're not going to forgive them, are you?" she said softly. "No matter what they do now, it's too late." The table froze. This woman, who'd known Clara for mere hours, had seen what her own kids couldn't or wouldn't. "The time for real reconciliation passed years ago," Clara said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Now we have an arrangement. They pretend to care, I pretend to believe them, and they get paid." "That's messed up," Lila whispered, tears brimming. "No more messed up than ignoring me until I had something you wanted," Clara replied. "Now, how about we move to the living room for drinks? I think Marcus mentioned a basketball game he wanted to watch." She stood, smoothing her dress, and the staff began clearing the table. Her family followed, moving like they were on autopilot. Only Sophia hung back, her eyes meeting Clara's with quiet empathy. "For what it's worth," Sophia said, "I'd have liked to know you before all this. The real you." Clara's carefully built walls wavered. "The real me faded a long time ago," she said. "Somewhere between the extra shifts I worked to cover Marcus's tuition and the nights. I skipped dinner so Lila could have new shoes." Sophia nodded. "I get why you're doing this. I just wonder if it's fixing anything." "It's not about fixing," Clara said. "It's about balancing the scales." Sophia touched her arm gently. "Just don't lose yourself in the process. She joined the others, leaving Clara alone with the echoes of a flawless meal that nourished no one. Winter hit Boston hard, snow piling up, winds biting through even the thickest coats. Clara's townhouse stayed warm, insulated by wealth and a top-tier heating system. December brought more of the same from her kids. Staged Christmas cards with glossy photos, cheerful voicemails that rang hollow. Hope you're having a great holiday season, Mom. Can't wait to catch up Wednesday. No real concern, just checking boxes for the trust. Clara told them she had plans for Christmas, letting them assume she'd be alone in the townhouse. In reality, she'd booked a solo trip to a luxury lodge in Vermont. Cozy fireplaces, gourmet dining, and a view of snow-covered mountains. She didn't ski, but the spa and quiet corners for reading called her name. Let her kids wonder, let them feel a pang of guilt for once. Asterisk. A week before Christmas, an unexpected visitor showed up. Sophia stood on Clara's doorstep, snow dusting her coat, her cheeks pink from the cold. "Sorry for dropping by unannounced," she said. "Marcus doesn't know I'm here." Clara let her in, curiosity outweighing caution. Sophia declined coffee but took tea, cradling the warm cup as they sat in the parlor. "I broke up with Marcus last week," Sophia said bluntly. Clara raised an eyebrow. "I'm sorry to hear that." "No, you're not," Sophia said with a small smile, "and that's okay. He's not who I thought he was." Clara nodded. "Few people are." "After Thanksgiving, I started seeing it," Sophia said. "The way he talked about you behind your back, the way he set reminders for your calls, not because he cared, but because of the money. And that surprised you?" Clara asked. "It disappointed me," Sophia corrected. "I grew up with nothing." Clara foster homes, scraping by, still, paying off student loans. "I know what it's like to fight for every dollar. When Marcus told me about your inheritance, I assumed you were some wealthy lady who'd never struggled, but I was wrong." Clara gave a bitter chuckle. "Far from it. I know that now," Sophia said. "And I know how your kids treated you before you had money." She leaned forward. "I came to tell you your plan's working. Marcus is stressed out of his mind. Leela's been hitting the wine too hard. They talk about you like you're a landlord holding their lease." "Isn't that what I've always been?" Clara asked. "A bank, a backup plan, a doormat." "Maybe," Sophia admitted. "But now it's out in the open. You've made it impossible for them to pretend." Clara studied her. "Why are you here, Sophia? Why tell me this?" Sophia met her gaze. "Because you deserve to know you're winning. They're hurting, and they're starting to get what they did wrong. But I also think you deserve to know this win won't heal what's broken." "I never expected it to," Clara said softly. "Didn't you?" "Just a little," Sophia pressed. "You're punishing them for treating you like a resource. But now that's all you are to them, a resource to manage, to keep happy for the payout." The words stung, sharper than Clara expected. She stood and walked to the window, staring at the snow-covered street. "What would you have me do? Forgive them? Act like they didn't ignore me for years? Hand them millions and let them walk away?" "No," Sophia said. "But maybe there's a middle ground. Something that holds them accountable without closing the door on a real relationship someday." "There is no real relationship," Clara said flatly. "There hasn't been since they grew up and decided I was irrelevant." Sophia was quiet for a moment. "My last foster mom, before I aged out, told me something I still think about. She said, hurt people, but healed people heal people. I didn't get it then. I'm starting to now." Clara turned to her. "Are you saying I'm not healed?" "I'm saying none of us are," Sophia replied. "And real power isn't about control or revenge. It's about breaking the cycle." Clara Thompson sat on the balcony of her luxury suite in Vermont, a cashmere blanket draped over her shoulders. It was New Year's Eve, and fireworks lit up the snowy peaks, each burst fading into the night. Her phone buzzed with messages from her kids, Lila and Marcus. "Happy New Year, Mom. Hope 2026 is amazing. Wishing you the best. Call you Wednesday." Empty, formulaic texts, exactly what her trust demanded. Nothing more. Sophia's words from weeks ago echoed in Clara's mind. This victory won't heal what's broken. Clara had spent years carrying the pain of her kids' neglect, and her planting their inheritance to forced affection felt like justice. But as the last firework faded, she realized it was just another cage, for them and for her. she wasn't free. Not yet. The next morning, Clara called her lawyer, Patricia Wells. "I need to change the trust," she said. "Big changes." 2 weeks later, Clara sat in Patricia's sleek Boston conference room, facing Lila, Marcus, and Nathan. Her kids looked worn out, their eyes wary, bracing for stricter rules. Nathan, as always, kept his cool, but even he seemed uneasy. Patricia handed out new documents, her professionalism unwavering. "Clara has decided to restructure the trusts," Patricia began. "The Clara Thompson Foundation for Educational Opportunity remains the primary beneficiary, receiving $6.50 million. However, the trusts for Lila and Marcus are being revised." Lila and Marcus exchanged nervous glances, clutching the papers. "The behavioral conditions are gone," Patricia continued. "Instead, each of you will receive a one-time payment of $250,000, effective immediately. The remaining $500,000 from each trust will be held until Clara's passing, then distributed to you, regardless of your relationship with her." The room went still. Lila's voice broke the silence. "I don't understand." "It's simple," Clara said, her tone steady. "I'm done with the charade. No more forced calls, no more mandatory visits. You get a chunk now, and more. When I'm gone, no strings." "Why?" Marcus asked, genuinely thrown. "Because this wasn't fixing anything," Clara said, echoing Sophia. "Not for you, not for me. It was just a new kind of dysfunction, with me holding the reins. I'm tired of it." "So you're letting us go?" Lila asked, her voice soft, almost regretful. "I'm freeing us all," Clara said. "You, from pretending to care, me, from hoping I could buy love that was never there." Marcus hesitated, then spoke. "What if we want to stay in touch? Not for money, but because you're our mom?" Clara looked at him, searching his face. "Do you want that?" He shrugged, a rare moment of honesty. "I don't know. It's been a long time since I tried without money in the mix." "That's fair," Clara said. "The door's open, but I'm done with carrots and sticks. Whatever happens next is real or it doesn't happen." They signed the new contracts. In silence, Lila's hand trembled slightly. Marcus's was steady but slow. Patricia left the room, giving them space. "So that's it?" Lila asked, her voice small. "We just go our separate ways?" "That's up to you," Clara said, gathering her coat. "I'll be here in Boston, living my life, building the foundation. If you want to be part of it, it won't be because I'm paying you. It'll be your choice." She paused at the door, turning back. "For what it's worth, I hope you understand someday why I did this. Not to hurt you, but to set us all free." Clara stepped out into the January light, the Boston air sharp and clean. For the first time in years, she felt a real smile spread across her face, not the practiced one she'd worn for forced family dinners, but something genuine. Freedom wasn't in the revenge, or the money, or even the perfect justice she'd chased. It was in letting go, in walking away from the fantasy of a family that had kept her trapped. Back at the townhouse, Clara sat in her study, Michael's letter in her hands. "This inheritance won't fix what's broken, but maybe it'll give you the freedom I never had. Use it wisely, little sister." She'd thought wisely meant control, making her kids pay for their neglect. Now she saw it meant something else, breaking free from the past, from expectations, from pain. Weeks later, Clara stood at a gala for the Clara Thompson Foundation. The room was filled with educators, donors, and the first scholarship recipient, determined kids who reminded her of herself at their age. She gave a short speech, her voice steady and proud. "This foundation isn't just about money," she said. "It's about giving kids a chance to write their own stories, no matter where they start." The applause was warm, but Clara's eyes were on the students, their faces lit with hope. This was her legacy, not the trust or the townhouse or the drama with her kids. This was what mattered. Lila called a month later, unprompted. No trust conditions, no money on the line. "I was thinking about you," she said, her voice hesitant. "Maybe I could visit next weekend, just to talk." Clara paused, then smiled. "I'd like that." Marcus sent a text a week after that, a photo of a book she'd once recommended. "Found this at a shop. Made me think of you." It wasn't much, but it was a start. Maybe not reconciliation, but a step toward something real, or maybe they'd fade away again. Either way, Clara was ready. Asterisk.